Hello and welcome to week 17 of the NFL. My name is Dave Jones, your host of Betting from Home, your betting podcast for you here. It's a new podcast I've been working on. This is my first year, and we've made it to week 17. I got some followers mainly on my YouTube channel, myhomebet.com. That's a direct website to the podcast that I do. You could download any of my stuff on any of your favorite podcast apps, Spotify, Apple, what is it called? iTunes. So you can find me on all those different things. But here we are, week 17. Let's kind of get into how I feel about it. Going to week 17, you got a whole bunch of teams that already have been eliminated from the playoffs. As to be expected. There's a bunch of teams who are trying to actually still make it into the playoffs and get a playoff spot. So there's some of the limited teams. We have Jacksonville, New York, Jets, Atlanta, Houston, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Carolina, Denver, Detroit, Los Angeles Chargers, San Francisco, Minnesota, New England, Las Vegas, and I already said Detroit. I wrote them twice. In the hunt, see, these are the teams that we really need to pay attention to this week, the teams that are still trying to play hard and do something good. Tennessee, Miami, Baltimore, Cleveland, Indy. That's for the AFC. And the NFC, we have Washington football team, Los Angeles Rams, Chicago Bears, Arizona, Dallas, and New York Giants. Teams have already clinched. In the AFC, we have Kansas City, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, NFC, Green Bay, New Orleans, Seattle, and Tampa Bay. So going into week 17, we really want to pay attention to our team's going to be trying to win a game. Do they not really care? Of course, they're trying to win the bye week. Green Bay and New Orleans are trying to win the bye week. In the NFC, I believe the AFC. I think it's going to be Kansas City. Yeah, Kansas City should already have that bye week locked in. So they're set to go. So that kind of brings you to some definite stay away games. I really think that we need to just avoid the Minnesota at Detroit, New York at New England, Las Vegas at Denver. Those are because both teams are eliminated and you're not quite sure which way they're going to go. Keep in mind, see, like the New York Jets, they won the last two games, last 2 weeks that they played, and you kind of wonder why that is. Or maybe the other teams that played them kind of relaxed a little, snuck up on them. You can never really be quite sure exactly how it's going to be going. Another one, as a huge stay-away game, is the Los Angeles Chargers at Kansas City. It's even stated that Patrick Mahomes is going to be put out on rest for that week because you really can't have Mahomes be injured or anything the last week when you've already clinched your the bye week. So they're going to come in week 1 of the playoffs. Watch out. They're going to be feeling good, looking good, and really rested, which is a huge advantage. Some might say it's a disadvantage because not like you fall out of football shape or out of football physical strength, but it's like a football conditioning. It's a routine. So it's one thing that could potentially hurt them going into the first week of the playoffs. But right now we're going to put it as a huge advantage. So, getting down to nitty gritty, what are some teams? Where are we going to be betting this week? Covering most of the other games. So let's get into it. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Pittsburgh is at a positive 8. Actually, they're going into this game as the underdog, which is, I believe, the first time all year. And then I just looked up, and the line did move to positive 10 for Pittsburgh. I would almost assume that Ben Roethlisberger isn't playing this game or something. So typically this game I would put the Pittsburgh favorite in to win. But I'm still going to take Pittsburgh plus 8, plus 10. I think that's your bet. Cleveland is trying to win. So keep that in mind, but I still don't think that like Cleveland dominates this game. I thought it was really interesting to keep moving the line to where Cleveland is going to win this game by 10. That just seems a little bit ridiculous to me. They do also have the over-under and the total for the game being only at 42. So that low scoring, that super low over-under kind of suggests that something strange is going on with this betting line. I kind of think it's a stay away, like a trap. Like you're getting Pittsburgh plus 8, so who wouldn't take that? Or even like I said, it moved to Pittsburgh plus 10, so they're giving Cleveland a 10-point advantage going into this game. That's kind of odd, and that's one reason why I think it's a stay away. Because immediately I just want to say to you, take the money line, positive 380 on Pittsburgh to beat the Browns. So what's going on here? Cleveland is trying to win a playoff game, so they're gonna come in strong. They're gonna come in hot. If they play anything like they did versus Baltimore, then I think they might win the game. I really feel like the Browns are going to actually finish this up and make it to the playoffs. Winning this last game is what they need to do. So, but are they going to win by 10? I think that's a stretch. And think about it. So what's the score going to be if the total's only going to be 40? That's 21 points a game. So are they assuming that this is going to be like a 30 to 20 game with Cleveland winning? I don't think so. I would stay away from it. It's my own bet. But if you want to take something, take Pittsburgh plus 8 or put Pittsburgh money on Pittsburgh money line. It's not a bad bet to kind of gamble on. Put a couple of bucks, but don't bet the house on this game. Dallas at New York Giants. So we have some teams that are still looking for a playoff spot. The Giants are looking for a playoff spot, and Dallas is looking for a playoff spot. So both these teams are going to be coming at it big. And what you have to look at here is kind of how in the previous few weeks that they have been trending. So Dallas, of their last 5, they won 3 of their last 5, beating Philadelphia, San Francisco, Cincinnati. They struggle versus Baltimore and the Washington football team. The Giants are trending down, losing 3 of their last 5, in particular their last 3 games in a row, but that was versus Baltimore, Cleveland, and Arizona. So Cleveland's a good team, Arizona is a good team, so they've been losing games towards what I would consider this year to be good to better teams. They did beat Seattle, but the week before that, they played Cincy. Seattle, Yeah, they beat them 17-12, which is kind of an interesting score. You would have to wonder what really went on. Maybe Seattle had a hiccup. My bet for this game is to take Dallas -3. I think Dallas is going to win this game by at least 3 points. I haven't been on Dallas the entire year, but I think Dallas is just an overall more talented team. The Giants don't really scare me in really any direction. They don't have an offense putting up a lot of points. They're averaging 17 points per game this year, and Dallas is averaging 25. You got to look at the defenses. Dallas beat Philly 37-17. San Francisco 41-33, which you can kind of say is a hiccup there. Cincinnati 30-7. So is Dallas kind of trying to figure out their defense? Is kind of what I read off of just the last 5 games trending. I think they're going to come together and kind of show you a little something here. But they do have better playmakers on the team than the Giants. Like I said, they've been trending downwards, scoring in the last 3 games 13 points, 6 points, 7 points, 17 and 19. So they're having trouble breaking the 20-point barrier. Well, Dallas scoring in the last 3 games 37, 41, and 30. So I think they easily beat the spread here of -3. And I actually put that one of my best bets of the week. I kind of really like that. I like that game going into week 17, taking Dallas -3 points. Next game that I covered is Atlanta at Tampa Bay. I did mark it down myself as a stay away game, but I think a lot of people will be wanting to bet this game because Tampa Bay, did they clinch? That's the question. Yeah, Tampa Bay did clinch. So it's a clinched team versus a limited team. I'm gonna not spend a lot of time on this. Tampa Bay. That's kind of why I make it a stay away game. So we're just gonna quickly take Tampa Bay minus the 6.5. It might be a good game to go the over 50.5 points. That's kind of where your bet's going to be. And what your both teams are going to be playing fast and loose on this. Will they play Tom Brady? That's a question I would have in mind. So this might that if Tampa Bay starts with Tom Brady and maybe puts him away at the end, puts him away at the end of the game, that might be something that they do. Atlanta might be trying to figure themselves out. So let's go with over the 50 points, but overall it's a stay-away game. Next down, personally, I'm going to be watching this game for sure. We got Green Bay at Chicago. I think this will be a competitive game, being an old rivalry. Some people are trying to knock this Green Bay Bears game down as not one of the best rivalries in the game anymore. I can see why some people would say that it's kind of slumped off, but here in the Chicagoland area it is, so I'm going to cover it. I like it. Green Bay is coming out with favorited to win this game by 5.5. So I would kind of stay away from the spread here because recently the Bears' offense has been kind of clicking along good. Can they catch the Green Bay defense not having one of their best weeks? And I think that's going to be key to this game. Well, maybe the Bears pull it together, win this game, and make it to the playoffs. And then so the Bears actually have something to play for here. Green Bay can be trying to get the bye week, so they have something to play for as well. So this should be a pretty competitive game. However, this game, if you know anything about Bears Packers, this game can easily fall off the rockers really quickly for the Bears. And Green Bay can just take it and turn it into like a 40-20 game, something like that. But I do like 50.5 points right now. Recently, it moved up to 52. A lot of people are going to be betting the over, and I would too. I would bet the over up until it hits about 54, maybe 55. So if you could find this game under 50, if you can find this game somewhere around between 52 and 54 points, I would really consider taking the over. But as soon as it hits about 55, 56, start going under. Green Bay might take off and win this game and get 40 points alone. Versus the Bears defense, I think that's kind of unlikely that they're going to score like 40. I kind of put this game at being like a 30-27 game. I still think so, which would put it at 57. So I think that's going to be a low total for this game is at 50.5. They even have it updated recently at 52. So I do like the over. As far as the spread, stay away from the spread. Who knows? The Bears might actually show up this game and win it. Or the Packers are going to blow them out. I think it's the only thing. So you either take the Bears plus 5. I don't know. I would stay away from that. Just go with the over. And that's kind of your best bet for that game. All right, and we're back. Moving on to the next game that I wanted to cover was Jacksonville at Indy. So we have in the hunt, just barely in the hunt, Indy. I think they need a loss from another team. I'm not going to go over all the scenarios and stuff, but I do know that Indy is looking for a win. Jacksonville has been eliminated. So I was looking at the positive 14. See, Jacksonville's not just gonna go away and sleep on this. They're going to try and show you something that makes them want to sign. Makes you want, players are still want to make you want to sign on to next year and be of value for their team. So Jacksonville's not going to completely sleep on this. Indy is going to try. They're gonna really try and shut down Jacksonville. Even looking at last week, Jacksonville scored 17 versus the Bears. Indianapolis does have a similar good defense. And what I'm kind of thinking though is that the over-under for this game being at 49.5, so they're expecting it to be leaning towards a low-scoring game. So really, if you take the 50 and you subtract 14 from it, you're gonna get 36. Yeah, so if you take 50 and you subtract 14 from it, you get 36. And kind of the reason why I'm going that route then is I don't really feel like Indianapolis is going to just totally destroy and go out there and get 36 points all by themselves. I kind of feel like this is going to be a game where they score somewhere around 30, and 30 minus 14 is going to be 16. So I do still feel like Jacksonville is going to come up with at least they scored 17 versus the Bears defense, and the Bears have what we all consider to be a really good defense. Now I know Indianapolis also has a really good defense, holding teams to similar scores as the Bears would be. So they're like in the top 5-10 defenses. I just don't see like Jacksonville being destroyed, like only scoring like 10 points. I think this is a 30 to 20 game, and so I would take Jacksonville plus the points. They're not going to be stomped out just completely, and I think that it's Jacksonville's going to find a way to score probably around 17, 20, 25 points. And Indianapolis is not a team that just totally stomps teams away. So I would take Jacksonville plus points. Indianapolis should win this game. They've won three of their last 5. They lost last week to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was really trying to show a little something there, but they lost to Pittsburgh 28 to 24. So they kept it close versus a good defense in Pittsburgh. They beat Houston, Las Vegas, and Houston a second time. So they are beating Indianapolis. Is beating a bad, lower half teams. Jacksonville can't find a win right now. So don't like go Jacksonville to win this game. It's not going to be an upset, but you can go ahead and give them 14 points. I think you'll be happy with the outcome there. So moving on, New Orleans at Carolina. The only thing that interests me in this game is the fact that New Orleans, I think, is really hoping for the bye week. Drew Brees has been recently a little bit beat up, and I think they need some time to rest some players for New Orleans to come in here and do something in this game. Of course, they are trying to get the bye week versus Green Bay, so they're actually hoping that the Bears handle Green Bay and New Orleans takes the win there. I think your money value is going to be under the 48. I think your money value is going to be actually going under the 48. They've moved it recently to 47.5. And that's kind of, I think, basing off Carolina. They won last week versus the Washington football team 20-13. But then they lost to Green Bay, Denver, Minnesota, scoring only 16, 27, and 27 points. New Orleans has a pretty decent defense. And I think the thought here is Green Bay going to score? I think that to go over the 47 points, is New Orleans going to score 30 points all by themselves? And then will Carolina actually somehow step up and score 16, 17 points? I think New Orleans win this game something like 30-17. Putting it right there on the edge. 47.5 is a pretty low total for a game. I just kind of get a feeling it's gonna squeak at the ender. It's almost a stay away game because maybe you're thinking you're New Orleans and you're thinking to yourself, we don't really need the bye, but we don't need to put Drew Brees in it for the entire game, which might allow Carolina to catch up for a quick second. But I think the New Orleans defense will handle Carolina, because Carolina, I feel, is lacking offensive power to get anything done. So I think that as long as New Orleans jumps out early for this game, I think New Orleans wins this game pretty much outright. I would say minus the 6.5 points. So there's two bets. I kind of think is your best bet might even be New Orleans minus 6.5. If you're not feeling the under, a lot of people don't like to bet unders, and I can understand why, because both teams are trying to score points here. So betting an under is like going against the grain. It's more fun to root for an over, but that's kind of how I feel about it. Tennessee at Houston. I don't think Tennessee has clinched, and that is the question. Yes, Tennessee still needs to win, and that is why I am covering this game, because Tennessee is looking for a win here in order to make the playoffs. I'm sure there's some scenarios there. I'm not going over scenarios. That's where I'm just telling you where to bet. I got no feeling under scenarios and anything like that. Anyways, Houston is the underdog by 7.5 points. We're looking at a 56.5 point over, which is a very high over-under for a game. So I think people are going to be shooting for the under 56 points. But I wouldn't be surprised because Houston is a talented team that both teams don't come up with some points here. Let's look at Tennessee. The last 5 games, they did lose to Green Bay 40-14, but they won against Detroit, bad team, 46-25. Jacksonville 31-10. They lost to the Browns, but they still scored 35 points, and they beat Indianapolis 45-26. So recently, Tennessee has just been scoring a ton of points. So I think that they're going to get, let's put them at 35 points for this game to start off. And then if we take that, 56 minus 35, can Houston come up with 21 points? That's kind of where the question is. And I think the answer to your question is yes. They lost to Cincinnati. They scored 31 points. They scored 20 versus Indianapolis. They did have kind of a bad hiccup versus the Bears, only scoring 7. But then they scored 20 versus Indianapolis again, and they scored 25 versus Detroit. So they're right there at the mark, and I think that's kind of what we're hoping for. We're hoping for Houston to kind of put something together and score 2 to 3 touchdowns. I think it's going to be possible. It's not like Tennessee completely stomps out the other team. It happens every now and then, but I think overall Tennessee will definitely win this game. I like the over, and people are going to say 56. I think Tennessee's going to end the season on a high note and really show us what to expect going into the playoffs. And I think they're going to make the playoffs this year and be a force to reckon with. Keep in mind that Ryan Tannehill, 32 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, and Deshaun Watson has 30 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. So it's not like Watson doesn't have the ability to throw some touchdowns this year, even though he lost a all-star receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. So expect some high scores, I think, from both teams to kind of. Houston still wants to end on a high note. That's kind of how I feel. The last game I want to cover is Washington at Philly, and that's because Washington is trying to make the playoffs with a Gibby Alex Smith. He's trying his best. He had that horrific injury in 2018. He's coming back this year. He's trying to really put something together and shock the world. He had a little bit of an injury, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, but he wants to play this game. The question is, will he play this game? And I think he's going to. If he doesn't play this game, it's definitely a stay away. But if he does play this game, I think Washington wins this game. It's only a 1.5 point spread. See if I can get you some recent numbers on it. See if they've moved it. Yeah, it's still a 1.5 point spread. I think Washington wins this game by 3. I think easily. Personally, I would have made it like a 5 point spread. Washington has a really good defense. Jalen Hurts is a pretty decent rookie quarterback coming out there. He might want to try and make this a statement game, but versus a good Washington defense, I think he's going to run into some trouble. I'm kind of seeing this score to be somewhere around 20 21-14. I think it's going to be a real low-scoring game. The over/under for this game is 43.5. And I think we're going to be right at it. 21-14 is 35. So even my predicted score is going to be under. I think I'm going under for this game. And I think that Washington barely pulls it off and makes, it gives it a chance to make a playoff run here. So I didn't cover as many teams as usual, but there's just, you got your eliminated teams. So we skipped a bunch of teams with that. You got your clinched teams. So I skipped a couple of games with that. Hopefully you enjoy the show. My name is Dave Jones, betting from home. Let's do Twitter, betting_home87. myhomebet.com. They'll bring you directly to the podcast website. YouTube, you watch kind of a raw edit of it. Any of the podcast apps, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Amazon. I think I'm on Amazon Play as well. So you can find me there. Anyways, good night, good luck, and hopefully you can win some cash. My name is Dave Jones, signing off for Week 17 of the NFL.